working with Mexico, Central America, and others to support bottom-up development to our south. Responsibility rests with governments in the region, but we must do our part. I will substantially increase our aid to the Americas and embrace the Millennium Development Goals of having global poverty by 2015. We will target support to bottom-up growth through microfinancing and vocational training and small enterprise development. It's time for the United States to once again be a beacon of hope and a helping hand. Now, trade must be part of the solution, but I strongly reject the Bush-McCain view that any trade deal is a good deal. We cannot accept trade that enriches those at the top of the ladder while cutting out the rungs at the bottom. It's time to understand that the goal of our trade policy must be trade that works for all people in all countries. Like Central America's bishops, I opposed CAFTA because the needs of workers were not adequately addressed. I supported the Peru Free Trade Agreement because there were binding labor and environmental provisions. That's the kind of trade we need, trade that lifts up workers and not just a corporate bottom line. There is nothing protectionist about demanding that trade spreads the benefits of globalization instead of steering them to special interests while we shortchange workers at home and abroad. If John McCain believes, as he said the other day, that 80% of Americans think we're on the wrong track because we haven't passed free trade with Colombia, then he's totally out of touch with the American people. And if John McCain thinks that we can paper over our failure of leadership in the region by occasionally passing trade deals with friendly governments, then he's out of touch with the people of the Americas. We have to look for ways to grow our economy and deepen integration beyond trade deals. That's what China's doing right now as they build bridges from Beijing to Brazil and expand their investment across the region. If the United States does not step forward, we risk being left behind. And that is why we must seize a unique opportunity to lead the region toward a more secure and sustainable energy future. All of us feel the impact of the global energy crisis. I don't know what prices are today. I suspect over $4. In the short term, it means an ever more expensive addiction to oil, which bankrolls petrol-powered authoritarianism, including in Venezuela, and drives up the cost of everything from a tank of gas to dinner on the table. And in the long term, few regions are more imperiled by the stronger storms, higher floodwaters, and devastating droughts that could come with global warming. Whole crops could disappear, putting the food supply at risk for hundreds of millions of people. While we share this risk, we also share the resources to do something about it. And that's why I'll bring together the countries of the region in a new energy partnership for the Americas. We need to go beyond bilateral agreements. We need a regional approach. Together, we can forge a path towards sustainable growth and clean energy. And by the way, leadership must begin at home. That's why I've proposed a cap-and-trade system to limit our carbon emissions and to invest in alternative sources of energy. We will allow industrial emitters to offset a portion of this cost by investing in low-carbon energy projects in Latin America and the Caribbean. And we'll invest and increase research and development across the Americas in clean coal technology, in the next generation of sustainable biofuels not taken from food crops, and in wind and solar energy. We'll enlist the World Bank, the Organization of the American States, and the Inter-American Development Bank to support these investments and ensure that these projects enhance natural resources like land, wildlife, and rainforests. We'll finally enforce environmental standards in our trade deals. We'll establish a program for the Department of Energy and our laboratories to share technology with countries across the region. We'll assess the opportunities and risks of nuclear power in the hemisphere by sitting down with Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, and Chile. And we'll call on the American people to join this effort through an energy corps of engineers and scientists who will go abroad to help develop clean energy solutions. This is the unique role that the United States can play. We can offer more than the tyranny of oil. We can learn from the progress made in a country like Brazil while making the Americas a model for the world. We can offer leadership that serves the common prosperity and common security of the entire region. This is the promise of FDR's four freedoms that we must realize in the 21st century. But only if we recognize that in the 21st century, we cannot treat Latin America and the Caribbean as a junior partner, just as our neighbors to the south should reject the bombast of authoritarian bullies. An alliance of the Americas will only succeed if it's founded on a bedrock of mutual respect. It's time to turn the page. It's time to turn the page on the arrogance in Washington and the anti-Americanism across the region that stands in the way of our progress. It is time to listen to one another and to learn from one another. And this organization can help make sure that that happens. And to fulfill this promise, my administration won't wait 6 years to proclaim a year of engagement. We will pursue aggressive, principled, and sustained diplomacy in the Americas from day one. I will reinstate a special envoy for the Americas, as Bill Clinton wisely did. I will have that special envoy in my White House who will work with my full support. But we'll also expand the Foreign Service and open more consulates in neglected regions of the Americas. We'll expand the Peace Corps and ask more young Americans to go abroad to deepen the trust and the ties among our people. And perhaps most importantly, we must tap the vast resources of our own immigrant population to advance each part of our agenda. If we are formulating Cuba policy, we have to talk to Cuban Americans. If we're formulating policy towards Mexico, we have to talk to Mexican Americans. One of the troubling aspects of our recent politics has been the anti-immigrant sentiment that's been flared up and been exploited by politicians come election time. We need to understand that immigration, when done in an orderly and legal fashion, is a source of strength for this country. Our diversity is a source of strength for this country. When we join together, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, there is nothing we can't accomplish. Todos somos americanos. That's what I believe in. Together we can choose the future over the past. At a time when our leadership has suffered, I have no doubts about whether we can succeed. If the United States makes its case, if we meet those who doubt us or deride us head on, if we draw on our best tradition of standing up for those four freedoms, then we can shape our future instead of being shaped by it. We can renew our leadership in the hemisphere. We can win the support not just of governments, but of the people of the Americas. But only if we leave bluster behind. Only if we are strong and steadfast, confident and consistent. Jose Marti once wrote, "It is not enough to come to the defense of freedom with epic and intermittent efforts when it is threatened at moments that appear critical. Every moment is critical for the defense of freedom. Every moment is critical. And this must be our moment. Freedom, opportunity, dignity, these are not just the values of the United States, they are the values of the Americas, they are the values of this organization, they were the cause of Washington's infantry and Bolivar's cavalry, of Marti's pen and Hidalgo's church. That legacy is our inheritance. That must be our cause. And now must be the time that we turn the page to a new chapter in the story of the Americas and a new chapter in the history of Cuba. I want to be your partner in that process. I thank you for your time. Congratulate you. God bless you, and God bless America. Which way should we go? This way? Good afternoon.